Hi, my name is Sarah, and my two words are hopeless and redeemed. So, growing up, I didn't really like going to church, and I assumed that it was the right thing to do, but each Sunday I was pretty bored as I sat through the service, not paying much attention to what anyone was saying. I definitely preferred getting a few more hours of sleep on Sunday mornings than going to church. I also never really thought about spiritual things or eternity at all. All I cared about was people liking me and having a boyfriend and doing well in school. And then when I was 14, I learned that my dad had stage 4 lung cancer, and his doctor told us that he had about 6 months to live. And at 14, I didn't really know how to handle this information. I lived in denial for a few months, but I really just felt sad and scared. Sad that I was going to lose my dad, and scared because I was, for the first time, faced with hard questions like what happens to someone when they die. So, my dad lived for another year and a half, and during the end of my sophomore year of high school, he passed away. And nothing prepared me for going through a loss like that. I was completely hopeless. I was worried about my mom and how she would handle losing her husband. I was worried about what a future looked like without having my dad. But mostly, I was worried about a lot of questions that I just didn't have satisfying answers to. Like, what happens to someone when they die? Or what makes someone good enough to go to heaven and someone else bad enough to go to hell? Where was I destined to go when I die? And it was around this time that friends of mine began inviting me to church and Bible study and really anything else where I would have the opportunity to learn about a relationship with Christ. And after months of giving my friends excuses as to why I couldn't join them at church, I finally decided to give it a try. So I began to go to Bible study, and for the first time in my life, I heard other people my age talking passionately about their love for Christ. And I thought I knew all that church had to offer, but I found out that I was definitely wrong. These friends of mine had something that I did not have, and they had answers to the questions that had been nagging me for months. So throughout the next year, I continued to go to Bible study and church with my friends. They would talk to me about Jesus and ask me lots of great questions. And I remember one particular night when I was talking to my friend Kirsten, and I asked her, what happens to someone when they die? And she explained to me that Christ had died for me, that he lived a perfect life and died a sacrificial death in order that I would have a way to have eternity with God. And she said that if I placed my faith in Christ, I could be sure that I would go to be with him in heaven when I die, no matter what I had done. And this wasn't something that I could be good enough to earn or bad enough to not receive, but Jesus extended his grace to all that place their faith in him. And so this was the first time that I really understood the gospel. And throughout the next few months of my life, I was completely transformed. And so I no longer lived in fear of eternity because I could be sure of the fact that Christ had secured an eternity with him for me. I no longer lived my life hoping that people would like me and think well of me. I knew that Christ saw me as his and as redeemed. So while I was once hopeless, I am now redeemed. And those are my two words.